Bill Richardson resigns from international panel set up by Myanmar's leader Aung San Suu Kyi to advise on the Rohingya crisis. We have details of these stories and many more lined up. Do stay. With our stories now, and the 5-member committee probing the cash for seats saga Tuesday met with the expatriate businesses community in Camera. Spokesperson for the committee, Yalboabin Asamoah, says the meeting with the expatriates has changed their investigative work but will not disclose the details.
The expatriate business community was expected to appear before the 5-member committee last week but failed to turn up. The committee spokesperson Yalboabin Asamoah says they met with the businessmen on Tuesday in Camera.
Even though the allegation appears to have changed somewhat, once we got onto the floor of the House, the motion we are investigating would appear to be slightly different. But we needed to meet the expatriate community anyway, because they are central to the process. Happily, yesterday, several of them turned up. We believe that very soon we will come to the end of the sittings proper, and then we'll deliver our report to the House.
The expatriate businessmen were accused of buying seats to sit close to the president during the expatriate business awards held in Accra. Yalboabin Asamoah says the meeting was fruitful.
We had frank discussions. They gave us all the information necessary, and I believe the members of the committee were very satisfied and believe that the report will be ready. We are working diligently. We have a very good staff helping us. Members of the committee are ready to perform. I believe it will be ready.
Still in Parliament, the legislature has received a communication from the presidency with regards to the appointment of Martin Amidu as special prosecutor. In a statement, the president urged Parliament to fast-track Martin Amidu's vetting. The speaker has since referred the letter to the appointment committee.
Battle by security personnel undertaking the Operation Cowleg exercise at Agogo in the Ashanti region. He spoke with our reporter, Catherine Frimpoma.
There has been a standoff between farmers and nomadic herdsmen at Agogo over the destruction of farms by cattle for more than 25 years. A Kumasi High Court in 2012 ordered the evacuation of the animals from the area, but the herdsmen did not comply with the directive. About 200 police and military personnel were deployed in Asante Achem Agogo to enforce the directive. Security personnel were advised to defend themselves following attacks by suspected herdsmen. This led to the murder of some herdsmen and hundreds of animals, an act that has been widely condemned. Security experts have condemned your strategy, that it is not sustainable and it's even against the UN conventions in the protection of animal rights.
Oh,
Shooting and killing.
Yeah, dear beautiful sister, I advise you to follow the operation. And if a cow is coming to put its horns in between your two thighs and throw you off there, you say that, and the soldier stands looking at you for the cow to do justice to you. That is where you know the difference between protecting you as a civilian and then the soldier as well. Then you as a journalist, then you come by and say, oh, it's against human rights for you to kick him and then save my life.
But
that is what we are
saying. Strategy. Is that the best strategy?
The best strategy is to achieve the aim of defending you.
According to the Deputy Defense Minister, the exercise has been successful.
Please, and a lot of them have moved. Now about 95% no job is complete in Agogo. So
the exercise has been successful.
Very, very, very successful. Very, 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 very successful.
On the general security situation in the country, he thinks the NPP government has done better compared to the NDC administration.
I'm using the past, and I'm telling you that all those perpetrations were made, all those acts were perpetrated against citizens of Ghana, and nothing was done. Now, something is done. That is the difference, I'm saying. So if I don't refer to the past, what is being done is that seeds that were sown has generated, and therefore we are uprooting the seed by arresting and prosecuting and putting punishment on those who are committing this crime.
And on this very story, I am joined by Skype, and I will be speaking to Adam Bona. He's going to tell us his thoughts and take on the Deputy Minister's stance and government stance on this very incident. Good afternoon, sir, and thanks for your time.
Good afternoon, and good afternoon to your cherished viewers, and good afternoon to the crew at Security Warehouse Limited. Yeah, good afternoon.
Now, you have watched this
Yes.
story, and what do you make of the stance of the Deputy Minister and government clearly on this shoot to kill?
I think the policy on shoot on sight or shoot to kill is totally wrong. International law, frowns on that. Rid of the nomadic herdsmen, shoot them.
Now, we do have some difficulties with our Skype call there, but we'll hold on, Madam Bona. And then, still staying on the story, our Upper East Regional correspondent is giving us some updates up north, where a press conference is being organized, still in relation to the nomadic herdsmen. Well, before we speak to Tanko, I'm told that I do have Adam Bona back on Skype. Hello, sir.
Yes, what I'm saying basically is that it is wrong. The Deputy Defense Minister is wrong to say they have achieved, 90%, 95% successful. What he failed to tell us was they have evacuated the nomadic herdsmen. Where are they? Have they crossed the borders of this country? Or what we have done as a nation is to move the trouble from one spot to the other. And what he failed to tell us, that these cattle or these animals did indeed attack a military officer, a police officer. And so to say they should shoot, when the deputy, the Deputy Defense Minister himself,
Oh, we've lost him there again. We'll still try that a very bit. But let's go to Tanko, who's our Upper East Regional correspondent, who's also following this story. And he'll give us some updates on the press conference being organized by the headsmen up north. Hello, Tanko.
Wendy.
Now, what is the main concern of these headsmen?
Thank you very much. The press conference was held some few minutes ago by Arise for Fulanis in Ghana, in the Upper East region. These youth activists are fighting for the rights of Fulanis on the wake of what is happening in Ghana, for example, in Agogo and parts of the Bro-Afro region. They are saying that they want the government to respect the rights of these Fulani herdsmen, because most of the cattle that they are rearing in Ghana belongs to Ghanaians, and most especially these Fulanis are themselves Ghanaians and registered as well, and they take part in every aspect of life in this country, be it education, health, even on the issue of health and education. The group are saying that the Fulanis are being discriminated and then neglected at the hospitals in terms of healthcare and the rest, but yet they keep quiet. And then they are saying Fulani, especially, are those who are making Ghana great in terms of agriculture in the area of rearing of animals. So they, as youth activists, will not sit down and then watch people, or maybe the government of Ghana or the security services mishandle their fathers and mothers, especially in the Ashanti region. And then they have made a lot of proposals to government. And then if government is not heading to their proposal, they will take legal actions in 20 days to come.
Well, thank you so much, Tanko, for that update. He's our Upper East Regional correspondent. And I'm going over to Skype again, where I do have Adam Bona. We're talking about this Fulani herdsman situation. Now, if you could hear my colleague Tanko from the Upper East region, he was telling us about a press conference that was organized early on by a Rise for the Fulani herdsmen up north, and they aired their concerns. This is, I think, about the second which has been held. Now, are there concerns? You've touched on the operation and how it's been handled, which you think should be looked at in other ways. Now, are there concerns really legitimate, looking at the distraction they've caused?
Well, they are concerns. Remember, you see, it is easy to say, to tag these people as Fulani people and leave it there. Are we saying every Fulani person in Ghana is a migrant or is somebody who doesn't come from Ghana? No, that is not what the law says. It is the Constitution of Ghana defines who a Ghanaian is. And therefore, it looks like what we have done is to give this whole conflict a beautiful name by tagging it as something to do with Fulani people. And therefore, once we issue a fiat, shoot to kill on sight. And that is what we are doing. What we have failed to do is to have legislative instrument to ensure that we have this ranching law passed. You know, of course, we would have some of these nomadic herdsmen who are probably causing, you know, and indulging in criminality. Let's get them, let's investigate them and punish them. But when people break the law, it doesn't matter where the law was, once it's within the country, and the issues are not thoroughly investigated, and those who are deemed to be guilty are punished, it is going to continue. And therefore, the knee-jerk approach into handling this nomadic herdsmen issue is never going to end. It's a conflict. Let's effort are put in place. Let's dialogue. You see, just like you know, Dr. Kwesianin said, we have a lot of Fulanis all over the West African sub-region. And therefore, let's be careful so that at the end of the day, we don't have a situation where, it's becoming something that a cross-border, you know, dispute amongst us and, you know, other Fulanis who are in other neighboring countries. I would want to say that cool heads must reign, and hearing our policymakers, you know, inciting the security agencies into violence, asking them to shoot on sight. It is wrong. You can't do that. Majority of us in this country eat meat. I'm sure the defense minister eats meat. Why can't we have a ranching law that restricts the movement of these animals so that, you see, we would have somebody who is farming the hay. If someone is farming the hay and selling to, the farmers who rear this cattle, we are going to make money out of it. One district, one factory. Why can't we have some of these initiatives, you know, pass on, include the Fulanis or the nomadic herdsmen, so at the end of the day, this conflict could be brought to, you know, a situation where crop farmers would not be fighting animal farmers and animal farmers would not be fighting them. I think there's a better way to do it, and other countries have done that. Let's learn from them. Instead of killing the animals, I think it is barbaric.
We're grateful for your time. He is a security analyst. You're still watching Midday Live, and the two former Guantanamo Bay detainees who are here in our country, Ghana, are known as refugees. Now, this happened in Parliament, and the Foreign Minister mentioned this yesterday. The agreements covering their stay in Ghana expired on January 6. But in a statement to Parliament Wednesday, the Foreign Affairs Minister said no exit arrangement was originally discussed between Ghana and the United States to end the bilateral agreement at the time of the negotiation.
The two former Guantanamo Bay detainees have been in the country for 2 years. Their stay expired on January 6, 2018. There were calls on government to make their fate known. The Foreign Affairs Minister Shirley Ayokobotwi told Parliament the two ex-detainees who have been in Ghana with their families have been of good behavior. She, however, revealed they have become the responsibility of the country because discussions with the U.S. government revealed there was no agreement on their return.
It is to be noted that no exit arrangements were originally discussed between the two governments to end the bilateral arrangements at the time of negotiation. The U.S. has also been clear in our discussions with them that per the agreement, returning them to the United States is not an option open to discussion or negotiation. This means that all obligations relating to the two subjects has now become the responsibility of Ghana.
The minister indicated government is constrained under the circumstances to explore other options but will await an in-depth examination of the matter by the appropriate agencies.
Mr. Speaker, in exploring options open to government, we have hit two hurdles. The first hurdle being that the agreement that was signed between the previous government and the United States stipulates that, and I quote, "The government of Ghana is to take measures to facilitate the integration of Mr. Bin Atef and Mr. Al-Dubi into Ghanaian society," unquote. What this means is that while the United States obligations end after 2 years, Ghana's obligations continue even after that. In addition, and even more significant, Mr. Speaker, the Ministry of Interior has informed my ministry of records at the Refugee Board, which revealed that the government at the time granted the two detainees refugee status.
Mahmoud Omar Mohammed bin Atef and Khalid Mohammed Saleh Al-Dubi were brought to Ghana in 2016 after having been in detention at Guantanamo Bay for 14 years after being linked with the terrorist group Al-Qaeda, but were brought for 2 years.
And fresh details on the Gitmo 2 detainees have revealed that the UNHCR had no knowledge on the refugee status of the two Yemenis until the Foreign Affairs Minister appeared in Parliament. Now, TV3 sources at the UNHCR have confirmed that despite the international twist, the two detainees UNHCR did not know about their status. Meanwhile, the Ghana Refugee Board has confirmed their refugee status as far back as 2016. Now, sources at the board have indicated the two Yemenis have been given an urban refugee status. Details are also emerging that Ghana is not bearing any financial commitment to the Yemenis as long as they live in Ghana. Sources at the board have pointed to Ghana only providing security for the two as they comfortably reside here. The two Yemeni detainees were brought into Ghana after the U.S. had arrested them in Afghanistan over terrorism charges. They were later taken from the Guantanamo Bay prisons where they were declared low risk. And I have here, joining me this afternoon in the studio, is Dr. Clement Apak. Good afternoon, Doc, and thanks for your time. He's the MP for Bosa South and also a member of the Foreign Affairs Committee in Parliament.
Yes, good afternoon. Good afternoon to viewers. It's a pleasure to be here.
Now, I just spoke about the UNHCR take on the refugee status of these two detainees here in our country. What's your take on it?
Well, first of all, I think it is very important that we put this matter into perspective. I'm here to verify what you have found out from the UNHCR. But what we know is that as members of Parliament, we did what we had to do, which is to ratify the agreement between the government of Ghana and the government of the United States, as per a verdict by the Supreme Court. But I think the debate, as of now, as presented by the sector minister, has to do with two issues.
She talks about which is, because it did just end there, that it had been ratified and the rest is history.
Well, as far as we know, yes, because I have with me a letter from the minister to Parliament on the need for us to ratify the agreement. And I also have the committee report of Foreign Affairs, of which I am a member. Because usually when these matters come to the House, Speaker certainly will refer that matter to the appropriate committee to look at and present a report based on which a final decision is made. So if you look at the content of the letter from the ministry, and you look at the content of the report from my committee, the excuses that we claim are being made by the current government as presented by the minister certainly are not tenable. There is nothing in the letter that she wrote to Parliament or the report that we ratified that contravenes what we all know to have been the process. I mean, so when you make the claim, for example, that as part of the agreement, measures were to be taken to integrate them into Ghanaian society, that is not new. It has always been part of it.
Now, a focus to what I was talking about, now, which you have mentioned that, of course, you're not aware about it. Now, you are a member of the Foreign Affairs Committee. You're an MP and you represent Ghanaians in your constituency. And this Gitmo issue came up and there were several talk about it. Some Ghanaians did even express fear. Here we have the UNHCR saying that they don't know about their status as refugees. And then in one thing, the Ghana Refugee Board says that they do have them as refugees. Why do we still have some bit of uncertainty?
Well, if you ask me, it certainly demonstrates the laziness on behalf of the current government, particularly the ministries that should know about this. Because truly, if they had done due diligence, I mean, we are speaking about a situation that, by and large, it began with our government and spilled over to the current government.
Now, your government, let me hold you there before you continue on Adam. Let me hold you there. Now, your government granted them refugee status. And for some persons or Ghanaians at large, this is news.
It cannot be news.
Why?
On several bases.
Was it made public?
Because even yesterday, during the debate, those who knew about this, including the former Deputy Attorney General, the Honorable Dr. Dominic Ayine, he raised doubts about the claim that the minority is.
But was it made public then, during your government?
That is why I'm saying.
You haven't answered my question.
He raised doubt.
Is it a yes or no? Was it made public?
At the time that they were conferred this refugee status, at the time that this refugee status is claimed to have been conferred upon them, we are even contested. So until they provide us with the content of the handing over note,
I asked a question that during your government,
it never came up. Even when this government brought the agreement to Parliament for us to ratify, they never mentioned it. And the point I'm making is this.
But were you aware of it?
The point I am making is this. You have been in government since January 7, 2017. You have access to the Minister for Interior belongs to this government. The Minister for Foreign Affairs belongs to this government. The Minister for National Security belongs to this government. All of the agencies certainly are assigned to one sector minister or the other. Do they mean to tell me that they did not do due diligence to find out the total conditions under which the people were in Ghana before they brought this to Parliament for us to ratify? So yes, they have also been very lazy. If they didn't take the time to dot their I's and cross their T's, and then to come after the fact. But did you finish
dotting your I's and crossing your T's?
Well, that is, we handed over as a government, so it then became their responsibility, and that is why.
Did you finish that part?
We did it. Obviously, we didn't. If we had finished,
if you did, I'm sure some of these things wouldn't have come up.
The point I'm making is, if we had finished, it wouldn't have been our responsibility to bring the agreement to Parliament for ratification. This is it. There is no way. And this is what they brought under the signature of the sector minister. So the point I'm making is this. It is their responsibility to have known the full content
I will hold you there, and then we'll discuss some other matters why you came
so by and large, they are lazy.
Studio.
They should have dotted their I's and crossed their T's.
The newspaper has, in its first day, that's January 25th edition, alleged former President John Dramani Mahama plans on destroying the government's gains in the Free SHS policy initiative. The newspaper alleges that former President Mahama had paid the African Watch magazine to use its platform to publish false stories and statistics about the Free SHS policy. The paper says some 73,000 copies of the African Watch magazine's February edition are sitting at the port waiting for free distribution. And Dr. Park is going to tell us a lot more about this. Can you confirm if indeed the story is true? Has the former president had any interaction with African Watch? In relation to
I should be very angered when, our opponents try to peddle what is clearly an obvious act of deception and
so
an attempt
true or
to
false,
divert the attention of Ghanaians from the real issues.
With the African Watch?
They cannot be true. I mean, does it simply make sense? Everyone agrees that if you look at the concept of the free senior high school, it is something that is mandated by the Constitution.
Not true or cannot be true? It
cannot be true. I mean, what would the former president stand to gain by sponsoring a magazine, if you like, to denigrate or create disaffection for a program that we all agree? Our only difference is that we feel that the way it is being implemented certainly leaves room for a lot of improvement. The former president has suggested, for example, that there's a need to organize a stakeholders conference for us to look at where the challenges are and to try to tweak them, because we recognize that indeed this is a policy that is required as enshrined in the Constitution. I mean, think about it. If the former president has the kinds of resources that they are claiming, our party is in the process of reorganizing. You don't think that he would rather invest those resources in helping his party reorganize than to sponsor magazines to highlight what is already known in the Ghanaian public?
Does he intend taking any legal action against?
Well, I know for sure that his office is bound to react, because, look, make no mistake, the former president is a statesman. He has a reputation to protect. His public posture, his pronouncements quite clearly have always sought to promote the national agenda and to draw attention to some of the shortcomings in as far as the current government is concerned and the promises that the government has made to the good people of Ghana. But if they then try to malign him with the hope of reducing his influence or perhaps even discouraging him from considering a comeback, and if they think these are some of the strategies that they are going to adopt, it would fail. But the challenges of the free senior high school are abound. You don't need a former president or a magician or an alien from another planet to come and tell you, that the
Dr.
program is having serious
Apart
challenges.
For your time. He is MP for Bosa South and he's also a member of Foreign Affairs Committee.
It's always a pleasure.
You're still watching Midday Live, and former workers of the Ghana Broadcasting Corporation have given management of the state broadcaster 60 days ultimatum to pay their end of service benefits owed them since 2012. The retirees are also demanding the payment of 2% Provident Fund, which has also not been settled since 2009.
The former workers of the state broadcaster say they have been waiting close to 80 years for their end-of-service benefit to be paid them, but management and other stakeholders have turned a deaf ear to their plight. According to the retirees, a letter dated November 29, 2017, to notify management on their plight, which they copied the then Director General, Chairman of GBC Provident Fund Trustees, Board of Directors and the National Media Commission, did not receive any attention.
We, the retired staff of GBC, vehemently wish to bring to the notice of the board, management, media commission, and the acting director general as regards the payment of our retirement benefits. We, the aggrieved retired staff, demand that GBC should pay our retirement benefits from 2012 to date within 60 days.
The retirees are demanding that GBC and the Provident Fund trustees compute a 2% interest from 2009 to date and also be part of the calculation and computing process.
The deductions went on. You check from below that PF employer is there. When you calculate against your basic, it is 2%. Up from 2009 up to October 2011. Then we migrated to controller. And the GBC commitment on their part ceased, but it is only the workers' 5% that is being deducted. And even those monies that were deducted and GBC is supposed to pay their commitment have not been paid. So we are demanding, if they paid, we want to know and then see the statement of account, and then how the payment order into the Staff Provident Fund was done.
And let's look at some other stories here on Midday Live, and we're looking at the Ashanti Regional Youth Organizer of the National Democratic Congress, NDC, Yao Buja Chimfi, who has again dragged the Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta before the Commission for Human Rights and Administrative Justice over the non-disclosure of all his assets and liabilities. According to the petition dated January 19, 2018, it was in furtherance to the response to his earlier petition to investigate the case of the contravention or failure to comply with Article 284 of the 1992 Constitution by the Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta, a public officer. And joining me this afternoon is Yarbroja James, the Ashanti Regional Youth Organizer of the NDC. Good afternoon, sir. Good afternoon. And thanks for your time.
Thanks for having me.
Now, Shraj gave his take on the Finance Minister. And again, you've gone back to Shraj. Why that special interest in the asset declaration of the Finance Minister? Were you not satisfied?
Well, nobody should be satisfied with such a revelation. You know, there are regulations on asset declaration, and there are reasons for that. That every public officer must disclose his assets, you know, before taking office to the Auditor General. And such documents are secret documents. It cannot be shown to anybody except by an order of a court or through an investigation like Shraj has done. And so once it has come to light that the Finance Minister did not disclose all his assets, it gives room, you know, for Shraj to investigate again. Of course, Article 287 of the 1992 Constitution clearly states that when there are such matters, there must be an official complaint to Shraj. And that is basically what I have done, because Shraj itself has found out through their investigation that he did not disclose all the assets. But they couldn't have gone ahead to sanction or give any recommendations because there was no official, you know, complaint relative to Article 286. I went to Shraj on Article 284, and through the investigations, that issue had come up. So I strongly believe that in our quest to fight corruption and demand accountability from public officers, it is important that we deal with this matter so that, you know, subsequently all other public officers will be minded to be truthful in the declaration of assets. Now, you talk
about public officers and all other public officers. Are you looking at all the others, or it's just for the Finance Minister?
Well, it is very difficult to deal with all the others because the asset declaration form, you know, except that there is a court order for it to be produced, you would not know. Even the Auditor General himself is not mandated to look at what has been written. And so we have heard about stories in the past where people put empty, you know, sheets and plain sheets and lie on that form and all that. But this is a case where Shraj was investigating a case of conflict of interest, so they needed to know all the interest of the Finance Minister. So when they had documentations from the Registrar General Department...
I'm asking, because if another matter should come up involving another public official, would you have that same vested interest that you have here in this matter?
Of course,
in
yes.
The name
because
of corruption.
Yes, because Article 287 is very clear. When anybody flouts Article 286, there must be an official complaint to Shraj. But the reason why I believe that this is a serious matter is that the asset declaration form is considered a secret document. And so unless we get to situations like this, we may not know which of the public officers is giving false declarations or did not, you know, declare his assets at all. Thank you, Yarbroja James. He is the Ashanti Regional Youth Organizer for the NDC. You're still watching Midday Live. Thanks for staying. And when you see that montage, obviously it's time for business. And let's look at our stories now. The Alliance for Social Equity and Public Accountability, ASEPA, has drawn government's attention to the lack of transparency in the agreement between Government of Ghana and Clark's Resources, the company that the state contracted to extract, process and market timber in the Volta Lake. Now, ASEPA, in a statement, did mention that they are in the possession of a letter dated that's January 12, 2018, from the Dassault Holdings, a company that acquired Clark
Resource Development Limited addressed to members of Parliament of Ghana, informing the House of a planned commencement of operations by the above. And joining me this afternoon is Mensa Thompson. He is the Executive Secretary of ASEPA. Good afternoon, Mensa, and thanks for your time.
Good afternoon,
Now,
Wendy.
some of your concerns are that these are petrified woods that we have the Deso Holdings coming under the guise of having it as timber. Now, what exactly are your concerns? Clarity on your concerns and what you hope to do to deal with this problem.
Yes, thank you, Wendy, once again, and good afternoon to your viewers. If you look at the agreement that was entered into, I mean, there was lack of full disclosure. I mean, the first agreement was entered into 2006 between Clark's Resource Development Holdings and Government of Ghana to conduct feasibility studies. So the phase one of the agreement was to conduct feasibility studies on the Volta Lake to assess the viability of the resources under the water. When they went, the report of the feasibility studies was not actually brought to Parliament. And so before Parliament ratified phase two of this agreement, which gave permission to Clark Holdings to go to the Volta Lake to mine these resources, the Parliament was not revealed to the actual feasibility studies report, which one of the members of Parliament raised on the floor. Now let me just read briefly what one member of Parliament said. He said, Mr. Speaker, also submerged timber over several years are very high value because of the conditions underwater, are very conducive for curing of some timber species. So over the years, those timber species have not been dissolved and are definitely high value timbers at this time. And so government will definitely earn a lot of revenue from harvesting of such resources. We will be making money from it, and I urge, but okay, let me quickly skip. Say, Mr. Speaker, however, I have a beef about this project. I wish that the committee has gone further to give an indication of how much we will really earn from this project. So
and that was in 2010.
That was in 2010.
Now, fast forward 2018, you are calling for 30% of the proceeds of the products to go to the development fund, and then also to people of the area. You've also mentioned that you interacted with the chiefs along that very area who have expressed concern that they had no idea about this. How do you hope to bring to light? Have you interacted with other major stakeholders regarding this very concern and matter you've brought up?
Yes, I mean, the entirety of the matter is that the people do not know what resources that government is going to mine. And we have proposed that if this resource is going to be mined or be taken out, then the people have to benefit. And so we propose that any negotiation or agreement government will enter into any company that will come and mine this timber or this petrified wood from the Volta Lake.
You mentioned timber, you mentioned petrified wood, so which is which?
So it is petrified wood, which is in the form of a wood which has stayed in water for a very long time. So it is timber which has now become petrified wood. So there's no more timber, and it is very valuable. In 2010, the value of this petrified wood in the U.S. market was about $14.
What's your next line of action?
So we are saying that we have these huge resources. Now, the total value of these resources is about 200 to 400 billion US dollars. We want government to leverage on these resources so that the whole country can benefit. That is why we propose that 10% of be paid as, go to royalties to the chiefs, 30% go into a development fund where it will fund important activities by the various assemblies of the communities along the lake. We also want 10% to go into the consolidated fund to be invested in investment activities. As at now, per the agreement that we have in copy, it does not entail the exact amount Ghana even stands to gain from this project. And we think that as part of this government's program of reviewing certain agreements and contracts entered into by the previous government, this is one of the contracts and agreements that this government should also look into.
All right, thank you so much, Mensa Thompson, Executive Secretary of ASEPA. We're grateful for your time. And it's time for sports. That's all for business. Nana Kojafre is here in the studio.
Why?
Very much, Wendy. Time to run by you the latest sports update here. My name is Nana Kojoafe. Let's get into the details now. Star Times, the official rights holders of the Ghana Premier League and the FA Cup, in collaboration with the Ghana Football Association, on Wednesday organized a draw for the 2018 Gala contest. The Gala competition, which used to usher in the season proper, went on hibernation for years, but with help of Star Times, it has been revived to give clubs the opportunity to warm themselves up for the season. The Star Times GFA Gala is set to be played on the 3rd and 4th of February 2018 at the Indom Stadium in Elmina. Each of the teams will receive an appearance fee of $2,500. The semi-finalists will receive $500 an additional, and then the runners-up will receive an additional $1,000 as runners-up, and the winner takes home $2,000. Let's do some other news here, where former WA All-Stars coach Enos Kwame Adepa has confirmed joining Division 1 League side Tema Youth SC. The Ghana Premier League manager has signed for Division 1 club Tema Youth with the sole target of bringing them back to the top flight, and the deal represents a statement by the Tema Youth-based club in their bid to make a quick return to the Ghana Premier. The young coach ended his relationship with WA All-Stars after leading them to win the 2016 Premier League for the first time in their history. An official confirmation will be made by Tema Youth in the coming days. On to our next story, which has to do with women's football. And the local organizing committee of the 2018 Women's Cup of Nations say they are on course to stage a successful tournament ahead of a CAF inspection in the next 3 months. Committee chairperson Frida Prempe has been speaking to TV3 Sports and Akia Mankwa about their plans.
Nations Cup is a good 10 months away, but with a CAF inspection due in 3 months, the local organizing committee is determined to get the basics in place as soon as possible. In November this year, 8 women's national teams from across the continent will gather for a tournament that has grown in prestige and stature over the years. LOC chairperson Frida Prempe is in no doubt Ghana will be ready.
I've not given myself 10 months. I've given myself 6 months. Because the next 6 months we need to get everything in order, everything in shape for the tournament to take off. We have put together a working document to aid us from day 1 till November when the tournament kicks off. We have a marketing campaign strategy here. We are done with our preparatory works. We have message development. We've done with all support women's football, women's empowerment through football, Destination Ghana for the tournament. And we're saying that we all can do it. It's not only women. So it's now a challenge for us to do better up above what they did in Cameroon.
The Accra and Cape Coast Sports Stadiums will host the tournament. While Cape Coast is in great condition, the Accra Sports Stadium, which is due to host the opening and final games, will undergo major renovation work. The LOC chairperson says the focus of the work at the moment on the main stadia and training facilities is to ensure that the pitches are in great condition.
My challenge is how to fix our stadia and the changing rooms, the facilities that we have, because that is the crux of the whole issue. They are going to play on the field. They are going to use training pitches to train in between the times they play the tournament. So we need to fix all that. So we are going to work very hard. But the onus is on all of us, the media, the government, the ministry, to ensure that we get these facilities back to shape on time.
On to our next story now. Ghana forward David Akam, who joined Philadelphia Union from Chicago Fire, says he is confident of hitting the ground running when the season kicks off. Akam says he is determined to repay the faith shown in him by the club.
Both in losing and winning. In my first 2 years in Chicago, we didn't do well, but for me, I still managed to do good things in that team. So last year also one of my best is in MLS. So for me, I have enough experience to bring something to this team. We have enough quality in this team already, so I just need to do my part, and hopefully we all click and get the best results. I think that's mostly my qualities, being wide and try to isolate the players and get 1v1. That's my quality. So I think I'll fit in perfectly in this system because we play 4-2-3-1, and hopefully I'll get a chance and be 1v1 every time.
And that's all the sports here on Midday Live. My name is Anako Jaffe. Thanks very much for watching. Always a pleasure serving you. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Watching Midday Live. Thanks for staying. Next, let's do international news now.
Bill Richardson has resigned from an international panel set up by Myanmar leader Aung San Suu Kyi to advise on the Rohingya crisis. He claimed the panel was a whitewash and accused Ms. Suu Kyi of lacking moral leadership on the issue. Mr. Richardson, a longtime friend of Ms. Suu Kyi, added she had been furious when he raised the case of 2 Reuters reports on trial in Myanmar. Myanmar has accused him of launching a personal attack on Ms. Suu Kyi. More than 650,000 Muslim Rohingya fled to neighboring Bangladesh last year in the face of a military crackdown. The military offensive that led to a mass exodus from Myanmar's northern Rakhine state has been described by the United Nations as a textbook example of ethnic cleansing, something Myanmar denies.
We now go for entertainment. An actress and producer Yvonne Nelson is back to work after giving birth to her first child. My colleague Anthony Jackson was on set with her where she spoke about her experiences as a mother. She also reacted to an article about her caption, and Yvonne Nelson gave birth to an ugly baby, perhaps a bastard even.
I was pregnant and all, so I also wanted to, you know, get back in style. And there's an ultrasound where she was like, "You guys." I left her home. You know, it was like this. Like I kept telling my mom, "Why didn't you tell me motherhood is like this?" Because I went to the hospital the other day and they were taking her blood, right? And I was just standing there crying. You know, because she was crying. I was crying. I was like, oh, God, I thought I was strong. I thought I was a strong girl. But when it comes to your baby, oh, my gosh. Like, it would just bring your soft side. So I saw that side of myself I didn't even know.
It was a very unflattering article. I think it received a lot of bashing from all sectors. When you saw, did you see that?
No. Whatever they're saying about her, I know it's not true. When someone insults you and you don't want to get involved, you just don't reply the person. It's same for me. You know, it's like you fighting with a mad person. You're, at the end of the day, I'm going to give you mileage. You know, I'm going to push my following even to check your page out or your website out. So I'd rather not, not involve myself because it's not true.
Right.
So bring you more on that interview in a subsequent bulletins. But news just in from the Shia National Imam of the Gitmutu refugees says that Sheikh Abubakar Hamid Kamaluddin, the National Shia Imam, has expressed regrets at the politicization of the discussions regarding the Gitmutu detainees. A statement released on Thursday reiterated that the existence of the 2 detainees still pose a fundamental security threat to the nation. The statement also says Ghana's hospitality, compassion and kindness must not be extended to terrorists who have not undergone any form of de-radicalization. We'll bring you some more of this in our subsequent bulletins. You're still watching Midday Live. My name is Wendy Laya. I mean, that'll be all for this afternoon. Thank you so much for joining us. Have a lovely afternoon. Good afternoon.